You are, of course, a music critic, author of Solace, The Case Against R. Kelly. I thought that, let's pick up on the comments of the judge, because I thought that one line there, indifference to human suffering, a lot of us would have watched Surviving R. Kelly and read and listened to the kind of things you've been saying. That absolutely encapsulates the man there, doesn't it?
It certainly does. When you think about victim number one was 1991, the 30-year sentence is a little less than a year for every year he ruined the lives of 14, 15, 16-year-old girls. And he's, to this day, has not expressed remorse whatsoever. Did not speak yesterday, did not take the stand during his trial, did not take the stand in the first trial in 2008. He thinks he is a god above people in the history of popular music. Men have been treating women badly since the era of the Bobby Soxers. No one has ever been convicted of crimes that went on as long and are as deep as Kelly's. And yes, I know about your Jimmy Savile.
Indeed. I mean, there are clearly precedents and examples around the world of people who've carried out horrendous crimes, as you just referenced there. I think in a way, you've answered my second question already, because it is that indifference and the idea that, I don't care, I ain't going to get caught. When you watch some of the documentaries on this man, I mean, and Surviving R. Kelly is obviously the one that brought this, perhaps the detail of this to global attention. Many more diligent or those that have an interest in music might have already been following these cases. But what I found interesting, Jim, was that here was a guy that was literally imprisoning young girls. And almost an industrial scale. Sometimes at the same time, some would go, others would come back. There were kids almost on the missing list. Parents knocking on doors saying, "You've got my daughter here." You might think that someone around R. Kelly would have gone, "Listen, this is gonna, at some point, you're gonna get rumbled for this. This can't go on forever."
Well, you're discounting two factors. Number one, money. Clive Calder, one of your fellow countrymen who started Jive Records, was well aware of settlements being paid to silence underage girls. Kelly sold 100 million records, his own and those he produced for everyone from Celine Dion to Lady Gaga. While the gravy train was rolling, they were not going to derail it. The other factor, sad to say, is in the U.S., we do not believe women in general, and we especially do not believe young black girls. I am only amplifying what dozens of his victims who bravely spoke out to me have told me. I was a young black girl. No one was going to listen to me. Thank you for telling my story.
Yeah. Against the might of the biggest name in the music industry. He was convicted.
He was convicted under racketeering statutes, the same laws that the federal government here uses to stop drug dealers and mafia. And his entire criminal enterprise lasted for 30 years while he was making all this money, selling so many records, generating $1 billion for Jive Records. Everything existed to satisfy his illegal, immoral, and devastating sexual urges. That this happened in the full glare of the world spotlight. I think that we really have to wrestle with the ramifications of that in the years to come.
And interestingly, I mean, you think about those around him. I mean, this was a guy that kind of, I've worked with people, I'm sure you have, Jim. There's people who are quite solitary workers. There are those that love that big entourage. They like a team around them for whatever reason. There's either pragmatic reasons behind it or it just makes them feel good. It's probably a mixture of the two. And he had an entourage, right? I mean, this was a guy that had plenty of people around him. The smart money would say they all knew clearly what was going on. They'd have to be stupid if they didn't. Nobody came forward.
No, because there was money to be made. There is a second federal trial that begins in August. The feds all wanted a piece of him, the New York branch of the Justice Department and the Chicago branch. In this second trial, there are two of his enablers and sidemen also indicted. Because the question remains, if he was the head of a racketeering enterprise, where are his minions in this? Even that doesn't go as far as holding accountable the record companies that benefited from him while paying off teenagers to be silent. And we're talking chump change, you know, a couple of $100,000 of which the lawyer got 40%.
Sure.
It's a horrifying story. You know, that industry is now disrupted by technology.
Yeah.
You know, if you and I make a record tomorrow, we'll put it on Bandcamp and release it for free. The kind of record, the kind of money that enabled him is not really there anymore.
Yep.
But we don't believe women, and we certainly don't believe women of color. And that's the problem that lingers.
R. Kelly, of course, had this unconventional, very challenging upbringing. You know, we know he had suffered abuse himself. That was tried to be raised as a defence, and well, it might be a factor in somebody's backstory, but it's not a defence against carrying out terrible crimes such as this. But acknowledging that he had a troubled upbringing, his own other members of his own family have either been or are still in jail. His brother, I think, is he still inside? His brother. So given all of that, given the psychopathic nature of this man, and he is clearly a psychopath in this respect, how will he deal with jail?
Well, I think reality has finally hit him hard in the face. He was arrested in July 2019 outside his luxury apartment in Trump Tower, Chicago. How fitting is that? And he's been in jail ever since. He was never even offered bail. He would be 85 when he walks out of jail on these charges. If he's convicted in the second federal trial, those sentences will be consecutive. He's never...
He ain't coming out, is he?
He ain't coming out. And what's more, I don't believe this would have happened, the conviction and the sentencing, if he hadn't been broke. As he sang in the last song he released, I Am a Broke-Ass Legend. He ran out of money, and at age 55, his fame was tarnishing. If he was still at the height of his powers, he would likely have been acquitted the way he was in 2008. Nothing derails American justice faster than celebrity and money.
You're right. It's just extraordinary, those stories, you know, a human being whose life could so easily have gone that way, and, you know, a beautiful, respected career, nice, living on an island, living out the ideal life, but he, you know, he chose, even with options, he still chose that way instead, and as often these people do.
I don't think he could deny these desires. His life was fueled. And, you know, I have spoken to a half dozen experts, and they say that 95% of the people who've been sexually abused as children devote themselves to being protectors of other children. And some small percentage act out the things that were done to them. It is not an excuse. When you think that any whim he ever had could have been satisfied thanks to his fame and money, the fact that he continually went over 14-year-olds.
Indeed. Jim, thank you for your time.